Hey guys, here we go into a video on Robeisy Ramirez and his expert level pull counter. Now I know a lot of people think that Mayweather's pull counter is really good, but this one fundamentally is not only going to have much more power in the attack because it's utilizing more of his line to make the attack, but fundamentally it's also better because you're not in the same position that your opponent just attacked when you make your attack. As we pay attention here, he's in a neutral position, about to meet his opponent on the line. His opponent controls his line, right? Does a good thing, feints him, probes him, or shoots a punch to split Robeisy's line. But Robeisy is prepared for it. He understands this moment. And in my Patreon, we call this moment, this is first contact. It's when you meet your opponent on the line, and his opponent decides to split his line with the jab. Very dangerous, as Robeisy Ramirez is easily able to pull to the back foot and then all the way onto the front foot to throw this overhand left kind of punch. Now, there are a few things going on here, and we're going to discuss them in a minute. But first, I kind of want to talk to you guys about my Patreon real quick. It's $20 to sign up, $20 a month, and it's a community of people all looking to kind of get better at boxing. One of the things that we're actually learning right now is how to develop a line and develop your line. A lot of people think that you can kind of only throw one punch. You know, you throw one punch, you transfer all your weight, and then you have to move off the line. But as we see here, Robeisy is throwing this left hook to the body, and then on the same line, the same weight transition, as he's going front foot, back foot, he's going from the back foot to the front foot through this hook. He's going to also throw an overhand shot, utilizing the rest of his line. So being able to throw two power punches on one weight transition. And this is what developing your line is. It's having a very dynamic line so that you can make lots of actions throughout the course of the line. It's also going to be one of the core ideas behind performing your pull counter, as you're going to need to be able to change head slots and put your head into different positions on your line so that you can quickly transition into new positions on your line and make attacks. This is a very, very fundamental and core part of boxing, and it's one that we're kind of delving into and discussing at length on my Patreon at the moment. But another reason that we're actually doing this video is I recently received this video from one of my patrons. His name is Eric. He's only 16. He's only been boxing for a year. He has 12 amateur fights. I believe he won them all. And here he is, some of his shadow boxing. So getting to the front foot, throwing his right, changing positions each time he throws one of these shots, right? Just slightly getting his head off the line. Really good technique, good weight transfers, committing all his weight here, getting his block up, fundamentally setting himself into the full position one. Now he's a little bit over the front foot, a little bit too far. He may want to bend his front leg a little bit, but we'll talk a little bit more about that on Patreon. But what we actually want to focus on, what we're going to be talking about, is actually his pull counter that he's going to be throwing in a second here. And that's one of the reasons why we're actually doing this video, is we're going to be discussing at length on Patreon the ways that he can improve this pull counter here fundamentally and take it from where it is here. Technically, the pull, fantastic. The punch, however, is going to need a little bit work. So we're going to work on it, and I'm going to teach him some tips and tricks to get it to looking like this from where it is now. So if you're interested in becoming part of that process and kind of seeing how we develop that and teach that, feel free to check out my Patreon. Now, if you're not as advanced as someone like Eric, you don't have as good of a line or good technique or good weight transfers, there are many, many, many different drills to building your line, teaching weight transfers, and kind of teaching these fundamentals. We have a lot of patrons who've made a lot of really great progress and learned a lot, and have already sent in many videos demonstrating their growth. So if you're interested in seeing that kind of stuff, check them out. I'll be actually rolling out some of that stuff, those footages, for YouTube soon. I want to get a little bit more, get some people a little bit more developed before I start showing, but it's fantastic progress. But anyway, so next we're going to take a look actually at Robeisy's past fights. Now, this is him when he fought Adnan Gonzalez and he got whooped. Now, notice here his pull counter, right? So number one, fundamentally, this motion here, when he pulls off the line and then moves off the line, is fundamentally very similar to the actual pull counter, as he pulls off and then he pulls back onto the line, right? But he does that by taking a step back. Instead of taking it and moving it into his opponent, right? Crossing his opponent's line instead. So when his opponent splits his line, instead of bringing his head back to the other side of his opponent's attack here, right? And crossing his opponent's line or crossing his head and making an attack, he's taking a step back. Now, fundamentally, this is a very, very, very important idea here, and why I included this motion. This is going to be something that we're going to talk about and teach and train on our way to building a pull counter. So here, the next clip, right, shows him, or the next sequence, shows him getting on the line with him, and his opponent shoots a jab. Now, he does a great job of splitting the line and moving his weight to the back foot, but when he throws his actual pull counter, notice he doesn't actually transition his weight or move his head or cross the line, right? So he's actually not throwing a punch that's going to be attacking the zone that his opponent is currently in, because he's not in the correct zone to attack his opponent. Notice the difference in this clip when he pulls his head down and he's on the back half of his line, and then when he transfers his weight to the front foot to cross his opponent's line and make this actual attack. Much, much, much more effective than what's going on in this clip, when it looks like I think his opponent actually is able to block this shot. I think he gets his glove in the way of it. But you can see, not only is the technique not nearly as effective, but there's not nearly as much power in this attack either. As you know, Adnan is able to just easily block it and time it and not take any damage, in spite of the fact that, you know, it's not landing. But the next clip, very similar, right? And the angle is even much better. So as we see, he gets pushed off his line here by Adnan throwing his left hand. So he pulls back to the back foot, and then when he throws the shot, he doesn't get his weight all the way on the front foot or transition his weight, right? Or change head slots. He kind of just comes up in this same neutral position that he was here, down into the same position, and then throws the shot. Notice, very, very different going from this neutral position here to splitting his line to the back foot and then moving all the way across his line, right? Stabilizing himself on the front foot in this new position. And you can see the striking difference in not only the effectiveness, right, but how he ends the position. Because notice, right after he gets in this position, he's immediately off balance and being pushed off of his own line because he doesn't actually transfer his weight to the front foot when he throws this left hand. Again, fantastic work from Robeisy, improving his line, improving his technique, improving his pull counter, and to be honest, improving his overall understanding of boxing. In this fight, he came out utilizing lead hand control, feinting first contact, doing a lot of really great things. And then as we saw, he just absolutely destroyed this guy with all of his ability to cross the line, throw punches, and utilize many, many pull counters. Again, another example of him pulling to the back foot and then all the way to the front foot, right? Very, very stark contrast in technique to his last fight. And again, the same thing, right? Pull to the back foot and to the front foot, very clearly crossing the line, right? Notice they're in neutral positions. That shot comes, he moves to the back half of his line, and then he crosses his opponent's line when he throws the shot again, right? This one's a little less obvious. I think he's throwing this shot to the body, so he's not crossing the line as much, or his opponent's line as much, but it's very important that you understand that you're pulling from one side of the line and going to the other when you're landing these shots. Now again, this is what we're going to be talking about today in Eric's shadowboxing video, and teaching him how to take his pull counter from here, right, to a more Robeisy Ramirez type of pull counter. But as you can see, this kid works very hard, very talented, very good control of his body. His weight management is really good. The most important thing that you want to pay attention when you're thinking about your shadowboxing and your punch selection and all that stuff, you guys, it's not about the punches. It's not about the blocking. It's not about the, those ABCs, right? When you're at a high level, what you really want to focus on is never losing control of your body, never losing control of your hands, always making sure that you're able to do exactly what it is that you want to do, no matter what it is, right? So if I'm critiquing someone like Eric here, I may not be privy to all of the things that he's looking to he's thinking about when he's shadowboxing. So it may be difficult for me to understand what it is that he's setting up, or what it is he's doing, or what attacks. So paying more attention to his body mechanics, paying more attention to the way that he transfers his weight and his technique is going to be more important than focusing on necessarily what combinations he's throwing, or what and the whys, but the weight, right? And what's going to affect those decision-making abilities in the ring, right? So it's his ability to perform these functions that I want to focus on, not what functions he's making. But anyway, if you guys are interested in seeing, and Eric, also, he's only 16. This is him fighting, I believe, Orthodox, and he also has a Southpaw video that I'll be doing as well. Again, he's works very, very hard, works very hard, practices a lot, and trains a lot, so, yeah, good for him. Really great work. And again, right, working on this pull counter here, and we're going to be talking about how this motion here kind of relates to the pull counter as well. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you're interested in learning how to refine your own pull counter in your shadow boxing, your double in bag work, or your heavy bag work, and also in the Patreon video, we will be taking a look at how to train this pull counter on the double in bag as well, and as well as using the double in bag to build your line. And if you guys are interested in understanding what that concept is, again, check out my Patreon. It's not going to be what you guys are expecting. Anyway, thanks guys.